Hey everyone, Mad Header here, and I hope each and every one of you is doing fantastic. Now, a lot of people struggle with the concept of what items to use and when to use them. So I will be creating a series in which I guide you through itemization, stats usage, and explaining everything about the fundamentals of Guardian Tales. Now, if you want to understand how to progress your account further, you can check out all of my other guides. I cover a lot of basics there. Going on forward, I won't be covering other topics I've already covered in my videos, as that only makes them lengthier and it makes the watching experience for you guys horrible. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you all in a bit. What are accessories? Now, accessories are things that you can equip to your character, that every character can equip. Now, while certain characters can equip shields, and among other things, like for example, Future Princess, most characters can't, as that is a tanker-specific thing. Same thing. For example, Rue can equip a rifle, while someone like Beth cannot equip a rifle and she has to use a two-handed sword. However, accessories can be used by every character alike. It doesn't matter whether you are a Earth Element DPS or whether you're, a Dark Element tanker, which doesn't exist. But let's pretend it does. It doesn't matter, you can always have an accessory. So what are the types of accessories? We're going to discuss that later in the video, but for now, there's two types of primary accessories: DPS based and tankiness based. DPS based would be something like, for example, Sharpshooter, while tankiness based would be, for example, something like Black Crown Ring. And the reason these matter is, let's compare my DPS, which is 291,000 with a Minotaur necklace, versus, let's put on a Black Crown Ring. My DPS is now 261,000. As you can see, it's 30,000 flat lower in the stats. Now, of course, with an actual, combat and gameplay, the DPS is going to differ greatly from, your DPS stat, as a lot of other things aren't factored, such as enemy defense breaks, attack buffs, crit buffs, everything else isn't calculated here. So do realize that. However, you can see the major stat shift. My toughness is 1.38 million. Let's just round that to 1.4 million. Let's put back on my Minotaur's necklace. As you can see, I lose about 200,000 toughness. From this, you should be able to understand that DPS and toughness are really heavily related to what accessory you have. We'll be talking about their specific substat options. Now, this may bring you to ask the question, why do accessories matter? And I'll be showing you why. Let's say, for example, you are running a tank. What stats do you want on a tank? I cover this in my tank guide, so you can reference that. You want HP, defense, and flat defense. Those are the only stats you care about. So when looking for gear, what would you look for? You'd look for the gear with the highest stats on those, right? So let's look at Black Crown Ring, 182 defense, 14% HP, 6% defense. Now let's look at Ring of Belief, 177 defense, 10% HP, 3% defense. Here now the defense roll can be higher, however it's only 2% off. So from looking at that comparison, one has lower base defense, lower HP percentage, and an overall lower defense percentage. Which one would you pick? You should obviously pick the one with the higher stats, which is Black Crown Ring. It's why it's recommended as a good tank accessory for the early to mid game. Even end game, you can use it if you're running multiple tanks in content that, would require multiple teams, or you are running multiple tanks on your team and you don't have the spare high-level accessories such as Mad Pender Brooch for your other tanks. It is perfectly fine then. Let's look at, for example, a DPS. What stats would a DPS want? They would obviously want weapon skill regen speed, because only your lead character can use their weapon skill. And while yes, they can only use it on a cooldown unlike their auto attacks, it still is very powerful because it often comes with either an effect, high damage, and it also works up to your chain skills, which means that those are the additional effects of a character that they have, meaning they can chain into a specific CC type, meaning airborne into stunned, down into injured, etc. I'll be explaining chain skills in a later video. So if you want to stay tuned for that, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and stay tuned, turn on the bell, and you will know when that comes out. You would look for offensive stats similar to these. Weapon skill regen speed is one of the most important, if not the most important stats for DPS, so you can constantly pump out your skill and get chain skills off whenever you can, since they accompany often buffs, defense shreds, or generally just high amounts of damage. Next up is going to be the attack stat. Some items will have a generic attack stat. For example, Sharpshooter just has a flat attack percentage, meaning any character can benefit from this, whether they're a water type ranged character or a melee dart character. They will benefit the same as the other character. However, for equipment that has specific element, such as water type attack 18% on the Minotaur's necklace, only water type attackers will benefit from this. Otherwise, you're pretty much going to be running a dead stat and not getting the most out of your equipment. Next up is going to be skill damage if you can afford it. The reason why is because skill damage isn't really all too easy to get on rolls, because once you get your weapon skill regen speed roll maxed, then you get your attack maxed, it's very difficult to have the spare resources like option stones and option chain stones, option lock stones, to continue it further. Otherwise, you're going to completely go bankrupt, since you especially also have other pieces you might want to work on, such as exclusive weapons and stuff. So do keep that in mind. Now, in addition to there being a archetype for DPS based accessories and tank based accessories, there is also one for healers. However, it's less developed than the other ones, while DPSs have quite a few options, and even in those options there are lots of variety. Tanks have a few options. However, healers primarily only have one option, and that is a ocean earring, which is pretty much the best healer accessory in the game because it provides you with the most amount of heal percentage. Now, as a healer, you have 3 stats you really care about. Your heal stat, so you can actually heal. You begin with a flat heal stat, and equipment will give you flat heal stat or percentage heal stat, and sometimes both. That will be increasing the heal stat, which pretty much creates how much you heal. With 10,000 heal stat, you will be healing a lot less than, for example, a character with 30,000 heal stat. So it is the equivalent of, for example, attack for a DPS. You want the stat as high as possible. And Ocean Earring provides that, and it can go up to 28% if you have all the rolls maxed, which is the highest roll for any piece of healing gear. This means your character is going to be healing the most as possible. So early common healers like Maya, Aoba, Lorraine can really use this and get a lot of benefit out of it. In addition to it having the 2 other stats which healers care about, and that's HP, defense, and defense percentage. The reason why I'm counting those into the same category here is because those are less important for a healer than they are for a tank, so you can group them together. But these will provide your healer additional survivability, as most healers don't have a lot of built-in damage negation or tankiness into their kit, as they're more so less tanky, characters that are supposed to support your team. So you have to worry about keeping them alive. That's why defense and HP is important on these accessories. Now that you know the different types of accessories and what accessories are, and what characters may want to utilize said accessories, let's begin on talking about what are the good accessories in the game. Now, these can be any rarity from unique to legendary to EX. I will be detailing on where you can get them, and I will try to explain other guides that may involve them. First up, we have the early game best accessory for general lead characters, and that is the gold pocket watch. It has flat defense, weapon skill regen speed, HP percentage, skill damage, and attack percentage. From what we have learned so far, attack percentage, weapon skill regen speed, and skill damage, if you can, are the most important stats of a DPS, which this actually has. It has a 10% maximum weapon skill regen speed, which is quite good, and it also has a 8% attack boost and actually up to 12% skill damage. But once again, the rolls you really only care about are weapon skill regen speed and attack, as the other ones fall under a less impactful category. Golden Pocket Watch can be obtained via a multitude of ways. It is a reward from a basic Heaven Hold Tower mission. I believe you have to clear up to maybe floor 3. It might be in a story stage, however, it is quite easy to get. It's also in the Canterbury Beginner Guardian Tales Everything mission, so you can get 1 or 2 for free from there, I believe. It's also a unique rarity accessory, meaning it's really easy to come across, whether it be from the weapons gacha or from item dungeons or even from mystery vaulting, which I will be making a guide on later, so stay tuned for that. However, it is really easy to obtain, and in case you don't know how limit breaking works, when an item is fully limit broken, it gains additional stats. So a fully limit broken pocket watch provides you with additional 6% HP, which means that 8% HP roll that's here is technically 14%. Okay, so you get a lot more out of a fully limit broken accessory than a not fully limit broken accessory, and this is especially important for non-tanks, who need that tankiness a lot more as they cannot sustain themselves, nor do they have the natural bulk, attack percentage, and skill damage if it's possible. Other than that, most of the rolls do not matter, and as usual, make sure to level this up fully. Next up is Sharpshooter. The next one is Sharpshooter. Sharpshooter provides a character with crit chance, flat defense, attack percentage, HP percentage, and skill damage percentage. Now, this accessory is really good, and it scales more so into the mid game and sort of into the late game than it is good early game. The reason why you want to save as many of these as possible, and you might even want to run these early on your teams on off lead characters, because weapon skill regen speed is quite important for a lead character, which this clearly does not provide. And that's perfectly fine, because it's for off-lead characters, and with the exception of one character, which is Ascended Karina, other characters cannot use their weapon skill while not being your lead. This means AI-controlled characters outside of Colosseum, of course, because in Colosseum every character is AI-controlled, but still your leader is the only one that can use their skill. But in general content, your leader is the only one that can use their weapon skill. So therefore, weapon skill regen speed only matters for them. So other characters don't care about that stat. That stat does not matter to them. Sharpshooter is a really good DPS boosting accessory because once fully limit broken, it gives you 5% crit chance. This means you have a total of 10% crit chance you're getting from the item, plus 12% attack, plus skill damage, but once again, as I have said, it's the crit chance and attack here that matter. And this accessory is obviously not for anyone, it's for off-lead characters that want damage. So don't go using it on healers, don't go using it on tanks, and then blaming it on me. If you didn't watch the full video, I am not to blame. So yeah, if you watched the video, congrats. Now that we have the two most important accessories for the early to mid game established, which are Golden Pocket Watch and Sharpshooter, we can begin to talk about the others in a more rapid fire manner. Let's begin with the best tank accessories. Your best tank options are pretty much always going to be the Black Crown Ring and the Ring of Fortress. These are the easiest to get early game. Black Crown Ring is a bit harder to get than Ring of Fortress because it's a legendary rarity, which isn't all too difficult considering how generous Guardian Tales is, and legendary not being all that rare. But if you have either one, it's perfectly fine to run. They both have solid fully limit broken skills, limit broken effects actually, which are just additional tankiness, and that's important for a tank. So if you can get it fully limit broken, please do. However, do not use legend limit breaking hammers on them, or if you have multiple copies, just use the copies, okay? It's not a big deal if you don't have them fully limit broken, and you don't have to actually bother in fully rolling their stats. If you're going to transition into something like, for example, a Mad Panda Brooch, you don't have to worry about maxing them. And that's going to be your mid to late game accessories. So let's clarify. What do you want for tanks? Base defense, which is the flat defense stat on the accessory. And then you want what? Defense percentage and HP percentage. Those are the three stats you care about. Damage reduction is a useless stat as it only provides you with flat damage reduction, not percentage. So 40 damage reduction is you take 40 less damage, not 40% less damage, not 4% less damage, just a flat 40 less damage, meaning a 1000 damage attack will do 960 damage. Therefore, the effect is extremely minimal. So to summarize, tanks want HP percentage, defense percentage, flat defense. Okay, and the accessories they can use are Mad Panda Brooch, Black Crown Ring, and Ring of Fortress. Now for DPSs, what do they want? DPSs want weapon skill regen speed and attack percentage and skill damage if you can get it. However, weapon skill, regen speed, and attack are the most important things. Your early game DPS options are gold pocket watch if the character is a lead, sharpshooter if it's a DPS based character who is not the lead. You have something like greed earring if it's a DPS based character who is not the lead. You have crescent moon earring if it's a DPS based character who is not the lead. You have other options such as, for example, the specific element ones, for example, tsunami necklace if it's not the lead. However, these are much harder to obtain, and I did rank them in sequential order, meaning golden pocket watch is going to be your best in slot option for your lead characters. Sharpshooter is going to be your best in slot option for DPS based off lead characters. Now, for off lead characters that don't want DPS, you're going to follow the tanky way or the support / healer way, which you will learn later within this guide. So for DPSs, let's go over it again. Golden pocket watch, sharpshooter, or any of these specialist accessories. However, if you can, try to avoid them as they scale relatively poorly later into the game once you have other options such as, for example, gold pocket watch, sharpshooter, mad panda brooch, minotaur necklace, etc. Those transition and fall off really hard. Now yes, there are some items like, for example, ring of belief, honor ring, which are also good as they're a solid balance of tankiness and damage. Honor ring is phenomenal for an off-lead character that doesn't care for something like crit as they're not fully DPS based, or they just want additional bulk because of how their kit works. Honor ring is a perfectly fine option. Ring of belief is, in my opinion, slightly worse than honor ring, but that's just the way I see it, as honor ring is more bulky than ring of belief. So if you want the slightly bulkier option for your off-lead characters, ring of honor is the way to go. Now there are other items like, for example, melody earring, dark magic ring, etc. Dark magic ring can be a good option in content in which you are clearing lots and lots of mobs really fast and you want to spam your weapon skill. This is a great item if you're hitting through hordes of enemies, so it can actually have a place in story passages. But the raw weapon skill, regen speed and attack, and the relatively well-rounded defensive stats of golden pocket watch are generally just going to be better. Items like sniper goggles aren't really as great early to mid game because you won't have their limit break option, which means they'll just be worse sniper goggles, and they're not a good lead option because they don't have the most important stat for a DPS, which is weapon skill regen speed. So that sums it up for the DPS accessories. You want weapon skill regen speed, attack, and skill damage if you can get it, and well-rounded defensive stats are quite nice. So you would want something like golden pocket watch for your lead characters, or sniper goggles / honor ring for your off-lead characters, among the other options I've mentioned. If you're confused on what accessories to use if you don't have these, please just join my Discord and ask there. We have lots of friendly people ready to help you, except a couple of goofballs such as Soulless. Make sure to leave a picture of any anime girl you find in his DMs. I promise you he'll appreciate it. Now for supports. Supports range anywhere from wanting tankiness in their stats. Yes, I'm pakistanin to say this. For supports, you want anything from tankiness to heal, right? If your support is in Maya, then you obviously want something like Ocean Earring. Or if you don't have Ocean Earring, something like Goddess Statue is not a completely horrible option, but a lot of the early game healing accessories are relatively limited outside of Ocean Earring. And Ocean Earring is the best by a long shot because it scales really well into any healer, any peer healer, mind you, because Ascended Karina heals off of DPS. So on her, you actually don't want Ocean Earring. You'd want something like Sniper Goggles or Sharpshooter, as she heals off of DPS. And because she can use her weapon skill off lead, you wouldn't want her as lead either. But you see how I get lost on these tangents. I have to explain everything so you guys don't get confused. And if you do find that helpful, if you do want me to keep making content like this, make sure to subscribe, like, leave a comment, and join the community Discord. We'd love to have you there, and you can get all the help you need, even, personal questions, about your team building and everything. All of those can be answered there. So healer-wise, you obviously want Ocean Earring. If you don't have that, something like Goddess Touch can work for the time being, but I wouldn't invest all too much into it because it won't return the best results and investments. However, for tankier supports, you're just going to want general tank-based items like Black Crown Ring, Ring of Fortress, Honor Ring, stuff like that. Just general tanky items that's going to beef up their survivability. So if they're, more of a support that's purely a support, you'd want tankiness. If they're a support that heals, you'd want heal. If they're, a supportive DPS, like for example, Kama L, and you're running him for off lead because you might have a better lead, then you can run a tankier option on him because Kama L being tanky is always a good thing. And because he doesn't heal off of the heal stat, he wouldn't need it. And these are just examples. You don't have to follow and only copy these exact scenarios. And the most important tip out of all of this is to read. It's simply just read. Please read. And there's another part. Level up your accessories. You might have the best accessories possible for your characters, the best in slot items. But if they're not leveled up, they're going to give you nothing. Right, let's look at this Earth Necklace here. That's 30 base defense. So it's providing me 10% additional HP, 30 base defense. Let's compare it with a level 90 Earth Necklace. As you can see, it's still 10% HP, so you may be like, well, what did that change? Look up. The base defense went up significantly. It went up higher than 5 times. The character will become so much tankier with a leveled up accessory that you will notice a significant difference. So please actually do level up your accessories. Don't just go, oh, this one's good, and just plop it in and think it's gonna work. Leveling it up is vital for tankiness, especially on characters who want tankiness, regardless of if they're a tank or DPS, because your backline's gonna get hit and your frontline's gonna get hit. Both of them need it. There's no excuse to make there. I will be making guides on cards, shields, and everything later on, but for that, I'm gonna need a bit of a support on this video. If this one gets 150 likes, then we'll upload the next one. You know what? No, 2. If this gets 2 likes, then we'll do it. Okay? I know it's a big ask, but I know, it's pretty greedy. So that's it for the guide. If you found this helpful, once again, hit the thumbs up, and I hope you all enjoyed this one. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I will always try to answer them to the best of my capabilities, and I will see you all in the next one.